and welcome to A Beautiful Life. I'm your host, Katrina Henderson, and I am joined once again with my brother from Teen Childs, Rik Childs. We had such a great time, 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when we were talking about the introverts and using our voice. We are going to continue the conversation. So, good evening, Rik.
Hey, Katrina, how you doing?
You
Uh,
just chilling. You just like
you know what, Katrina? That I guess because what we're getting ready to talk about is going to seem a little different. We can ready to amp this thing up, but
mhm.
it's just that my it's just my demeanor. It's that inner peace that I have right now at this moment that allows me to and this is what bothers Tiff with me, that she'll come with me and she'll be all frazzled. She'll be all, she wants me to be her when she gives me something. I'm like, Tiff, you know. Yeah, I get it, Tiff. I understand it, Tiff. See, but she needs that when it does really hit the fan. She needs that person that's going to be that calm when the storm comes through.
Yep.
But I'm aware of it when I do it, so I try to give her a little more of her when she comes to me with something. But it's just one of those things that's just how, it's just how I flow. And it took me a minute to really come out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
It took me a minute to come out of it, and I've been out, I would have to say, probably 6 years plus now, and really have a better understanding of it. As far as, because when you say comfort zone, so the people in the chat, when you hear comfort zone, put it in the chat and tell us what
Do
comes
you
to
hear?
mind. So
Yep.
words for me, I when anytime we have a topic, I have to look at the definition. So for me, I went and looked up what comfort zone is. So it says a place or situation where one feels safe or at ease without stress.
That's what I had to. That safety.
Yeah.
Yep, that safety.
So and this is the revelation that came to me earlier today, that our comfort zone is spiritual, mental, and physical. If you really, really stop and think about it, because when you hear comfort zone, a lot of times you probably will connect it with the physical,
Mm-hmm.
the physical part of being in a comfort zone. But when I look at the spiritual or the mental side of it, along with the physical, what I understand is when I come out of my comfort zone, what am I doing spiritually? How am I open spiritually to understand that I'm out of my comfort zone? So, for instance, when I go into a new day, if I'm not praying, then if I'm not, and I'm making excuses why I don't pray, or I don't have time to pray, or I say that's just not me, then am I in my spiritual comfort zone? Am I being in a place where I'm not expanding myself, if I'm not stretching myself and getting a better understanding just from that perspective? And then the mental part, where just like the definition says, a place of safety or ease. But I'm gonna say it's two individuals that, or actually it's three individuals that came to mind when I thought about comfort zone. One of them is Mandela, and I spoke about him on Sunday from a different perspective. But Mandela, in order for him to do the things that he had to do, he had to come out of his comfort zone. And him coming out of his comfort zone put him in prison. It put him in
Mm-hmm.
prison for so many years. But then once he was released, and what I had mentioned about him being released, if he did not, and this is we were just talking about forgiveness in our 30-day challenge before we started on what was it, procrastination, now that we're on. And then so one of the things that I saw with Mandela's situation was, if he didn't have forgiveness, if he didn't forget when he left out of prison, if he didn't leave that there, he would still be in prison, even though he was actually out physically walking. So he had to come out of his comfort zone in order for him to stand up for what he saw was wrong. He had to say that this is a decision I'm going to make. He could probably continue doing what he was doing and go under the radar, but he chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped out of his comfort zone, and it cost him many, many years in prison. Same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, he had a position where he could have just been a pastor, a preacher, doing his thing at a church, but he saw injustice and he stepped out of his comfort zone. I'm
Right.
gonna pick one more person, and one of my favorite football players of all time, Walter Payton. He was out of his comfort zone, and he has a quote that I love and I use a lot, that says that when you're good, you'll tell everyone, but when you're great, everyone will tell you. And I say that, and I'll make connection with that, is the fact that Walter Payton was not talented as a football player. He didn't have some of the God-given talents that some of these football players have today. He worked hard for everything he achieved, the Super Bowls, the MVPs, all of those things. And when he did work for him and he achieved them, he kept working. And he had to come out of his comfort zone to do that. You know, he could have easily sat back and said, in his default, and said that, hey, you know, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and I don't need to do anything else. I'll just be comfortable. And that's a safe place. That is where we a lot of times stay. That's like for you and I, Katrina, as being natural introverts. It'd been easy for us to say, we're not going to show up and be in front of the camera, be on the mic, do what's comfortable and easy for us. But we chose to come out of our comfort zone. And when we choose to do the hard things, what we're actually doing is we're adding to being more whole. We're adding to being the best version of who God created us to be. And that's not just being one aspect of that temperament. Because that's one of the things that I'll say about coming out your comfort zone. If you had to ask me what one thing that you would definitely focus on, it would be understanding who you are. You have to, and I would say from the most general basic standpoint would be just knowing your temperament.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just start there, knowing your temperament and understanding that. And then if you want to go, more levels, then that's where you go.
Right. So I want to go back to something that you said in the beginning was the spiritual, mental, and physical piece.
Mhm.
A lot of times we think it is the physical, but we understand and know that setting intentions, being prayerful, grounding ourselves, meditating, right, helps center us. And so when we can take the time to be able to do that and get our mind right and have the communication with God and say, okay, God, I'm, fearful, or I'm whatever feeling I'm feeling, help me overcome this, then that allows us to get out of that comfort zone. So then, like, we're Tuesday nights, right? For example, with me and the beautiful life, I have to get my mind right before the show goes on. So it's kind of like the kids know, the husband knows when it's 6 o'clock, kids, like I have to then start shutting down, getting my mind focus, because that's the only way, right, that I know that I can do this. Because if you had told me a couple years ago that I was going to be on a Tuesday night doing a live show, it, I, where were the words, right? But I understand when I can get intentional about what my assignment is,
Mhm.
right, of knowing how to inspire beautiful, then there's nothing that I can't get through. Like when this show first started, the first two times I had technical difficulties both nights, and it was like, oh God, what is happening? This ain't gonna work. I'm not supposed to do this. And it caused me to have to pause, right? And
Mhm.
say, okay, God, I'm having technical difficulties. What do you need me to do? How can I shift, make that pivot that I talked about last week or the week before? Not last week because it was on kickoff for that week, but just being able to shift, but understanding that shift, that pivot, that's when the magic happens,
Mhm.
right? Because we now get away from, oh, I'm scared, to be out of my comfort zone, that I can do it. And so I think what I want to do is, I know we talked a lot from the perspective of the introverts. Well, I was also getting a lot of feedback from the extroverts, right? And how for some, it's not easy for them to get out of their comfort zone,
Mhm.
right? And so it's tonight we're going to talk about the comfort zone from the perspective, okay, being able to use your voice and just really understanding how it's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's time
Mhm.
for us to enjoy the discomfort, right? Because it's not easy. Even for the best speaker, like you can hear it. If the best speaker is going to be is real with you, then they'll tell you, I still get jitters. You know what I mean? So it's not, there's always going to be that uncomfortable feeling, but it's about finding the intention, the grounding, the spiritual aspect of it so that you can move forward despite the fear that you may fear.
Mhm. That's good. That is good. So one of the things, Katrina, that I realized, and this was actually came to me this morning, because like I said, when I knew I was going to be on your show, I was excited. And I'm not even going to lie to you and say that I don't get nervous, but I don't care about getting nervous.
Mm,
That's the other part. I
you
don't care
gotta
about
say that
getting nervous.
again.
So,
Y'all need to listen to that.
oh yeah. And one of the things that I realized was in the revelation I got, and I just wrote it back down again, your default will keep you defeated.
Oh, that's good.
Your default will keep you defeated. And that's the other part that I say, Katrina, why I can show up the way that I do. And I've heard from extroverts too. I've talked to extroverts that say, I need that alone time. I don't need people always around me. I don't need a whole lot of commotion going on. And that's the other part that it applies not only to introverts, but to extroverts is you got to know all the aspects of you. You got to know all the aspects of you,
Yeah.
because with me, and this is how I explain it to people. When God showed me the assignment that I had, and I understood my default was an introvert, I understood that I could formulate the message as an introvert, but I couldn't deliver it as an introvert. I had to be able to deliver it as an extrovert, but an extrovert with control, because I've seen people try to pull one off and can't pull it off
Mm-hmm.
because they don't understand it. They may believe it's what they see. If they see another introvert doing certain things, and then they say, well, I can try this and do that, and then they don't look natural. They don't look like it's them. So again, like I said, you have to do the inner work. You have to go inside and understand who you are. You got to find the tools that will allow you to understand who you are. And then once you get those tools, then you find a platform, you find something that's going to allow you to put reps in. And what I did was, when I knew that I had this assignment, when I knew that I needed to use my voice, then I had an opportunity to get on Clubhouse. Clubhouse had just started.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have easily stayed on Clubhouse and been in other people's rooms, got on stage, talked, and that's what I did for a couple of months. But then I realized, in order for me to really understand what it means to be a extrovert, how do you run a room?
Mm.
How do you handle running a room? How do you handle somebody coming in a room that's not on your agenda? You know what I mean? How do you handle a room where you're the only one in the room?
Yeah.
So just like you just said about the difficulties that may happen, that's what's going to make you stronger, because now you got to pivot. Now you have to make an adjustment, and that's where the introvert kicks in. So just like we were talking earlier about the calmness,
Yeah.
when those types of situations happen, and I've heard other extroverts say this, when these things happen, they're impatient. They don't have the stop and say. They don't have the abilities that an introvert would have in a pressure situation like that, in most cases, unless they're seasoned and they've been doing it for a while and they understand, the ins and outs. But I just know for me that as long as I continue to practice and put reps in, it has gotten easier. And I've been doing a Clubhouse room called the Power of Choice every Sunday for over 2 years now. And I've got a great group of moderators that I do it with, and we all feed off of each other. But like I tell them, doing that room for me is therapy. It's actually therapy for me, and it allows me to be able to understand who I am and what I bring to the table. And I had a and this is one of the things, like, I'm the one that sets the room up and all the titles, the subjects and stuff like that. So one day I it just came to me and I said, I'm gonna do a room on why do you show up? Just why do you show up? Why do you come to the Power of Choice room? And I asked these moderator, and I ain't even gonna lie to you, Katrina. I broke in tears because each one of them said they came to the room because of me. Even as I think about it now, you know, they're there because of me.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there selling nothing. Our rooms might be 5, 10 people at the most. And I love that because I've said this before. I'd rather have the Johnny Mathis room opposed to the Michael Jackson room. Because if I had a room that was large and I had to deal with all the personalities and the ins and outs, it wouldn't have allowed me to be able to flow like I need to be able to understand the way that you deal with different personalities and the way that you interact with folks, and to be able to have the ability to come out of my comfort zone and carry a room for an hour. Because if one of the moderators or all of them are not there and it's just me, I have a commitment and a consistency with doing that room. And it's just been one of those beautiful, uh, just one of those beautiful things for me that has allowed me, one, to be able to be here on your show and be able to talk and be a part of the conversation, because I understand my assignment. I understand who I am inside and out.
I love when you share that because you created your space, right?
Mhm. Yes.
You determined what it looked like. You determined, how it was going to flow. Even if it was one person in the room, you were authentically you, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's what people have to understand is how we show up, how we use our voice, how we get out of the comfort zone is our journey. It's our process. Like how I flow is not going to be the same way you going to flow. Although we are us being twin.
Mhm.
But I think I want people to understand that it doesn't, your way of using your voice is your way of using your voice.
Mhm.
And you have to find that flow of who you are, right? The one question I'm always asking, okay, when we're talking about a beautiful life, and I'm saying, okay, your anchor has to be what is beautiful to you. Until you can tell me that, nothing else is going to work because that definition of your beautiful is going to be the anchor so that anytime life hits, you're not going to get thrown off course because you've defined it for yourself. Just like with you and your show, you had to figure out, okay, here's what it was. Even in times you had to learn, like you adapted, you had to learn how to pivot because like you said, you get some people that come in the room and they want to take over your show and they trying to get it to go a completely different direction, but you have creative direction, right? You're the director of
Mhm.
your life and how you show up, and you're the director of your comfort zone. And that's the key piece of this is understanding you got to go with the ebbs and flows of things
Mhm.
because something's gonna come up. I don't care how much you plan, it's gonna come up. You're gonna have technical difficulties. You're gonna have, your voice. You getting dry mouth, like every possible thing.
Mhm.
But show up anyway, right?
Yes.
And understanding, okay, the only way that you are going to get out of your comfort zone is just showing up little by little. Like if you know that you are supposed to be a speaker and you're not necessarily ready to get on stages yet, do what you did, like Clubhouse. No one has to see you,
Mhm.
right? They just hear your voice.
Mhm.
Or if you're ready to go live, but you're not really ready to go live, then record short videos. Like figure out what is going to work for you so that the little step, right? We talked about perfection and progress one night too. What little steps can you do to get over the need for having it all planned out or having it look a certain way so that it takes away the overwhelm of thinking about this big thing. Like, oh, I gotta go live. I don't want to hit that live button. Okay, then do a little short clip video.
Hmm.
Or like what I'm doing, bring a friend, phone a friend and be like, hey, Rick, we tonight we talking about conference. And that was your idea, right? So you don't have to do it by yourself. Bring somebody along. And then once you have found the confidence in your voice, then you can say, okay, tonight I got this on my own. Right. Or you gonna have you got a guest planned out. They supposed to be there, but technical difficulties cause that are preventing that person, and then now you got to do it by yourself, just like I had to do. Like you'll find ways to figure it out. You'll find your flow, and I think that's the important thing to remember.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I love what you said about that, because it is all about adjustments and just understanding that things will happen. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn, because I used to beat myself up a lot earlier on, because I would talk and I was like, man, I forgot to talk about this. Why didn't I say that? So I started writing notes. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm still writing notes.
Same here.
Even this morning, I had a whole bunch of notes. And so I'm pretty much using, it's not a script, it's just bullet points, things that
Yeah.
come to mind. And something I just wrote, which came to me this morning, was that excuses love a comfort zone.
Mm,
So that's the thing, that I don't make excuses for anything that may happen. I just show up and I say, look, this is how it's going to be, and this is what it's going to be. You can't change some of the things, and I think that's the most organic thing people can see and receive. And it's just like, and I'll say, for instance, it's like when Tiff and I come together. People will see that dynamic, but they don't realize that there's two sides to that dynamic.
yeah.
Okay, they get to see it all, and a lot of people have seen it all. But the other thing is that, and she's the extrovert, I'm the introvert. So I understand how to approach certain things by watching her, by seeing her, and then once I understand that, but again, like I said, you have to have control over those types of things. You can't just say, I'm gonna start a show and just start doing it and then really don't understand it or understand who you are. Because again, that's where coming out your comfort zone is so important, to understand who you are and then what is inside of you, and then you take those gifts, you take those strengths and those weaknesses, and you leave those excuses in the comfort zone. Because for me, that's what I do. I come out of my comfort zone and I stay out of it, but sometimes I go back in it because I need to re-energize. I need
Yeah.
that break. I need that rest. So it's nothing wrong with going back in it. It's when you go in and you stay in it. It's when you
That's
go in
it.
it when you're needed. Okay. I know, just like our voice is needed.
Hmm.
We have so much to do. We just starting, Katrina. You already know that.
I know. Yeah.
We talking, we're introverts that love to talk. I'm claiming that. I don't know about if you won't claim it yet, but I'm claiming it. Okay. So, and that's the beauty, because I see so many of us, Katrina, that don't want to talk. And it's so important, and I'm not saying talking to be on a show. I'm saying talking in your relationships,
That's yes. 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 Yeah.
talking in situations that don't take away from you, using your voice so that those around you understand that there is something to you, and that you're not getting labeled and tagged a certain way because you're not saying something. Because yeah.
That's so good. So there's two. Let me hit the first one. Just came to mind. So, um, I had the opportunity with my kids on what day? What are we, Tuesday? So on Monday,
Mhm.
my son didn't eat lunch. I picked him up from camp, and he like, "Mommy, I'm hungry." I'm like, "Well, what happened?" He was like, explaining about he didn't get the pizza. There was confusion, and I said, "Well, why didn't you speak up and say anything?" And he just, I don't know. And I'm just like, people are not going to know how to support you, how to help you,
Mhm.
unless you say something. Right.
Correct.
And so it was an opportunity for me to get both of them, because then I had to tell, talk to Ariana, like, hey, if you didn't, y'all got to watch out for each other. And that's the same thing we do. Like, we have to understand, if we have a need, right? Going back to that, phone some friends. Who can we call, ask for help? Because that's the only way that someone's going to know whether they need to support us,
Hmm.
right? But I want to go back to this, because you talk, when you're talking about you and Tiff and y'all being the extrovert and introvert. I love the relationship, and you all are a good example of a good demonstration of how, even though you're an introvert, I all have seen you show up as the extrovert. But then, because she's the extrovert, I've also seen her sit
Hmm.
in as an introvert,
Hmm.
right? There's times when you, like, Tiffany's on a lot and she don't have nothing to say. And I'm sitting here like, this ain't Tiffany. This ain't the same Tiffany. But that goes to show you is that even though we may um flow as one way majority of the time, we also have that other side of us that's kind of like waiting to get out, right? So like now the extrovert of us is coming out. But
Hmm.
then, like Tiffany, when she gets on, that introvert's coming out until you get her going and she got that spoon in her hand. You know what I mean? But it just goes to show, like, then God has created us and we've got both natures. It's just one happens to be predominant than the other one. And
Yeah.
so that's how you have to learn how to be able to pull on get it right, minority side of you, so that now you can flip the switch and be like, this is the side that I need to flow in right now,
Hmm.
and then turn the switch off and you go back to your normal and you get the energy, you recharge, you do what you need to do. So when you got to flip the switch again, because think about, as a parent, as a spouse, let something happen to your significant other or your kids, that voice gonna come out, right? When you
Hmm.
see some type of, some harm against somebody else, that voice gonna come out. Understand, let the voice come out no matter what situations you in, because I need your voice. We need your voice. Like, stop sitting on the gift
Hmm.
that you have because you're uncomfortable. And I'm saying this at the same time I'm selling myself, because I know, like, there's still things that I'm doing and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Not yet. I ain't ready, God.
Hmm.
But when he say, now is the time, he gonna keep putting things in front of you. And when, like, it's blaring red lights, right? There's no getting around this now. So now it's flip the switch on and let me flow and do what I need. So I just want people to know, like, you've got both sides. It's just gonna be one that's gonna be the predominant side and one that's gonna be in hiding, waiting for its time to shine.
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. And I'm glad you said that, Katrine, as far as the different sides for us, because that's the other thing that I saw being in different groups and seeing different dynamics of couples. And I saw that for the most part, every couple is opposite of each other. It just depends on to what degree. So for Tiff and I, we're like that, the extreme ends. She's an extreme. I call her extra extrovert.
Yo,
And I
flamingo.
used to be an extreme introvert. Okay. And we would trip over each other. Like I said, we could be talking about the same thing and still not be talking about the same thing. And
Mhm.
you'll remember this, the Dallas experiment. Remember at the restaurant? Tiff and I was talking about that the other day. And it just showed the dynamic of an introvert and an extrovert, how the relationship, how they communicate. So again, that's something that Tiff and I was definitely going to do a show about, just in how we interact with each other, because you've heard her say this, so it's nothing new, but she said for 10 years our marriage was HELL. Okay. And I wouldn't agree with it, because it wasn't like that for me, but then it was, because we were at the place where we were getting an understanding of, first of all, who we are, and then how we come together.
Right.
So the same Rick and Tiff that was married in 2007 isn't the same in 2023
Right.
because of the work that has been done, the internal work, the bumps and the bruises, the all of the in between stuff that has happened for us to get to this place. Is it perfect? No, it never will be. Are we human? Yes, we are. Will we ruffle each other's feathers? Most definitely, on most days. But in the same instance, we understand how to come out of it. We understand how not to allow it to keep us in it.
Right.
We could get into something and then in seconds we're laughing at each other or we're joking with each other. And that's the thing. But I had to learn for myself because a lot of my uh I would just say my issues would be is that I would deal with everything internally. I would rationalize, I would make excuses, I would do all the stuff I wanted to do in my head and realize that all that was doing was delaying the inevitable. That's all it's doing.
Yeah.
And I shared this, Tiff and I have shared this story about where if it's important to her, it's important to me. That came from us coming to a head where our marriage was right at a point where it was about to end, where we both were ready to walk away from each other. And we shared it. Remember, we shared I shared the story at the marriage retreat. And it was that thing where we had an ongoing disagreement or differences in opinions. If I did I say that right? Yeah. So we had that. And she preferred this, I preferred that, and it was never resolved. We just kept going, and it just finally came to a situation where our preferences, our differences didn't match up. And then we realized it wasn't even worth that.
Mm-hmm.
But this went on for almost 16 years. For almost 16 years. And it came to a point where we were getting ready to walk away from each other. And when I sat on the sofa and I just thought to myself, first of all, I was like, freedom. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I was like, hey,
Hold on, let me
give
pause.
me this. I ain't gotta all of that, all of that. But then reality hit me, Katrina, and it was like, man, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
God talked to me, straightened me up, said, look, man, the grass ain't greener. Do you really, you know, the work that has been put in, do you really want to walk away?
That is so important that we have to do the work, right?
Mhm.
I know it's not easy to get out of our comfort zone. I know it's not easy to admit we've got some limiting beliefs, right? We've got those excuses of, well, I don't have the time to go live, I don't have the time to speak, I don't have whatever your excuse is.
Mhm.
You got to peel back the layers and
Mhm.
ask you as God, why why do I feel this way? Why do I feel as if I can't use my voice? Why do I feel as if I can't speak up? Why do I feel that I can't determine what I like?
Mhm.
Because when you can peel the onion back and
Mhm.
like really get down and dirty with who you are, you discover that the thing you've been hiding from really wasn't even worth hiding from.
Nope.
It was just like it's an excuse. And that's one of the things like we're really dealing with in the intensive is that everybody got an excuse.
Mhm.
But how long are you going to let that excuse keep you from speaking up for yourself, from walking in the assignment, from being vulnerable and admitting, listen, I don't have it all together. And you don't have to have it all together. Right. For me, for the longest, I didn't want to get on camera because it was like, okay, I'm still not, I'm not, whatever it is. nobody can see me from this down. You only see my head up. And then if I wanted to, I didn't have to come on camp. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever your it is that's blocking you and keeping you from using your voice, you've got to really sit and dig and really do some searching spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever it is, to be able to release that thing that's holding you back. Because what if you don't, you'll never get out of your comfort zone. You'll
Mm-hmm.
never be able to truly be authentically you. The world won't get to experience your beauty mark because you're hiding.
Mm-hmm.
So release the excuses, release the need to, okay, I'm just, don't, y'all stop dimming your light. Listen, y'all need to get them, put the shades on and just be like, hey, haters, like whatever thing is keeping you from being you, you got to release it tonight. You got to release it, sit with it, ask, go through whatever, do the work. Do the work. It's not easy admitting that we're scared. But when you admit it and you can acknowledge it, then you take its power away and it no longer has the hold on you.
No, most definitely, and I'm glad you would. Something that you said is two things that came to mind with what you were just talking about. So one of the things, and this is what we talk about in health renewal, is staying in the light. And one of the things that I realized, and this is another coming out your comfort zone, because we deal with health and wellness. To
Mm-hmm.
come out your comfort zone, a lot of times when we're dealing with our health issues, is because we're staying in our comfort zone. We're staying in a place of not moving, not eating right, not, getting our rest, not doing all of these things. So as we progress and we understand the basics and the foundations, one of the things that we say, stay in the light. And what I realized with that, and what I mean by that is staying in the light means just like showing up on this, posting pictures on social media, because I'm not really a social media person, but I understand the process
Mm-hmm.
and you can utilize it for its good, not for all the negative stuff, not, getting hit by a chair or all this other stuff. You know what I mean? That's entertainment. But I look at it from a standpoint of posting positive things. When I tell people to post your meals, what that does is it keeps you accountable, it keeps you consistent, but it also shows the other person that's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that I saw in the beginning of this process for us in 2016 was, because we were doing that in the program that we were in, other people would come to us and
That's it.
say, I joined because I saw you. I joined because what you posted. I started eating this way, because I saw you post this air fry recipe, and it was something that helped me. So that's what I mean about staying in the light, because that keeps you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Staying in the light, posting, staying in the light. Look, I got pictures from I don't know how long. And what it does is it allows me to look back and see where I've come from. It allows me to see where I don't want to go back to.
Yeah.
It allows me to see the best version of who I am as God created me. Because the only competition is you. It
Yeah.
ain't nobody else on social media. Ain't nobody else sitting next to you. Your only competition is you.
Mm-hmm.
Go for the best version of you.
That's it.
And we all know how to do that. But we choose to look at everything that everybody else is doing and saying that I can't do it. But you're looking at two examples right here. If we paid attention to the people that we see doing this type of thing and said, I can't do that,
Right.
we wouldn't be doing it. We would stay in our comfort zone with those excuses. And that's one of the things that I understood, that even as I'm moving, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still understanding. And that's what helps me to be able to, one, when I start creeping back towards that comfort zone, I know the guardrails. I have things in place that keep me from going all the way, that stops me from getting back in that place of comfort. Do I need a pause? Yeah, because I talk about that pauses and breaks.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I equate to the physical health, but it applies to a lot of things. And what I mean by pauses and breaks is, for me, on a physical standpoint, because I work out, when I take breaks, a break might be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, ends up being a month, and I got to start all over again.
Right.
I got to get my body back in that place where I'm not dealing with the pain. I could injure myself. My mind isn't right. But when I take pauses, all it is a break. It's a 1 day break. It's a rest. It's a re energizing myself so that I can come back stronger.
Right.
So realizing that and understanding that I can't take breaks anymore. I only take pauses. And
That's
that allows me to really be on point when I show up.
right. I think what you talked about is that we have to understand is that we're not in this alone,
Mm-hmm.
right? That even if it's a party of one, you got to show up anyway, right? Because the little step, the parties of one, then turns into, oh, it's a double team tonight, and then now it's more people in the room, and the more people that get, it's like it's gradual increases that happen, because you can't go from 0 to 100 overnight. You got to start somewhere, because think about it, as a business owner, you have to gradually work up there. Like, you don't, yeah, people say they want, I'm going viral, but do you have the systems in place to be able to go viral, right? Are you going to still be able to serve your customers if something goes viral? So it's kind of like you have to build each step of your momentum out of your comfort zone, so that when that spiral does hit,
Mm-hmm.
then you're prepared, because you've laid out everything that needed to be laid, so that when you do go viral, you're not going to you won't get thrown off, because you've prepared for it. It's like training day, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an athlete, like, you gotta build, what's the your stamina. You gotta be, build, like, can you do that? And you gotta eat right. Like, you gotta do all the things
Mm-hmm.
to prepare you for the main event. That's what getting out of your comfort zone is all about. Taking baby steps. So if your vision is to be a speaker, then start small. Do a video.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, press record on the go live button. Then from there, find or host your own event to where you're now speaking at a group of maybe five. And then from there, build it up. It's like you got to build your stamina, so that now when you have to get out of your comfort zone, it's now comfortable, because you've prepared for it.
Oh yes, most definitely. And this is one thing that I enjoy about this conversation, because all the parts and the pieces that you're talking about are interchangeable with my parts and pieces.
Mhm.
So one of the things that we've got this event coming up called the Vegan Soul Fest in Baltimore on the 19th and the 20th. And this is something that's way, 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 way out of Tiff and I's comfort zone, but we're prepared and we're ready for it. And this is a big event. And like what you just said, do you want to go viral?
Right,
Most, because this is a business. We're taking a product there that is a product of love. It's a part of our journey. It's a story behind it. And we're taking it to the masses. Now, do we want to go viral? Oh, I would love to go viral, but could we handle going viral? No.
right,
I just want recognition. I want awareness. I want understanding. I want a trickle. I don't want viral.
right,
And that's like everything in life. Take it in bits and pieces. Take it as a process. Take it as a journey, step by step by step. Because what we're bringing to the masses started out as a need for something that I wanted, and when I saw that the market didn't have it, instead of me just settling and staying in my comfort zone,
you
I said,
create
how
it.
can I create something for
Mhm.
me? And I don't want it to sound selfish, but that's all I did it for. It
Right.
just happened to other people see it and wanted to try it, and then they were like, "You should be doing something with this." And
Yeah.
that's the only reason we're doing something with it. So again, coming out of our comfort zone, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, if it was left up to me, it would just be me eating it. But my
Oh no,
flamingo
you gotta
queen,
slide some of that chocolate mix over there.
they don't know nothing about that, Katrina. Don't tell them. Don't tell them about that one.
Okay, I'm gonna delete that part out the recording when it finishes.
We trying to hold. We got to keep that part
We
back.
gotta
We
hold
hit
that
'em- yeah,
hostage.
we got to hit 'em with the original one. So, but yeah, and like I said, if it was left up to me, I would have stayed in my comfort zone, and I wouldn't have pushed it. But the reason why we're doing this event is because my flamingo queen pushed me. She ruffled my feathers. She said, "Let's do this. We can do this." And that's what's so important. You
Yeah.
know, having somebody that's in your blind spot, that even if you don't get it, they can help you come out of your comfort zone.
Oh, that is so good because sometimes we need the support person to
Hmm.
push us out, right?
Hmm.
Like when you think about birds and the mother in the nest, like sometimes she got to toss them out of that nest because if not, they'll never leave home. And
Right.
so that's it. That happens with us with in our comfort zone. God is going to put those people in your path
Hmm.
that are going to tell you stop with the excuse. Just go on and hit the button or go ahead and create the product. Do whatever you need to do because they can see. And I saw my best friend on here somewhere.
Hmm.
She could see what I couldn't see,
Hmm.
right? And so she had to speak it to me and say, "Listen, you can do this." And like the more I heard it, the more I keep hearing it in my mind. It was like, okay, it's gentle nudges, right? But it's what I needed to know. Is so find your person,
Hmm.
right? Let me not say find your person. You know who's there
Hmm.
pushing you out the nest. So now listen, right? Because I'm pretty sure you've got the friend that has been telling you start the business, create the book, turn on the camera, whatever your thing is.
Hmm.
They've been telling you, but because you're stuck in your comfort zone, you haven't moved on it. Now it's time to move. So don't let them have to bulldoze you out of the nest. Take the gentle push,
Hmm.
right? While they're giving it to you. Don't look at, oh, there's so many people doing it. Like if there's a book in you and you saying, well, everybody's an author. Well, Amazon's in business because of books. Look at the
Hmm.
bread aisle. How many different types of breads? Your people will find you. So remove the excuse and just gently fly out the nest because when you do that, you talked about you're creating the stability. Like you don't want to be a trend, right? Because trends come and go. But if you can build your faith muscle, build your um, sustainability plan, right? Of how to just move anyway, you're going to last longer, right? You're not going to be this overnight sensation because you've done the work. You've peeled the layers back. You've got honest about, your vulnerabilities. You've done the work to get out of your comfort zone. So now just take the leap. Like, what are y'all sitting on? I need y'all to put this in the chat. What are y'all sitting on that I need? What are y'all sitting on that Rick needs? What are y'all sitting on that the world needs? Because now it's time. No more excuses. It's time to get uncomfortable and it's time to be comfortable in the uncomfortable moments. It's time to get comfortable in the discomfort because you waited so long. And I'm not judging because by far I've been there, still there. It is what it is. But understand that we need what you somebody said the chair. I need what y'all got. So what's your assignment? So what is it that you've been sitting on, and what has been the number one excuse keeping you there? Because now it's time to release that excuse.
Yes, yes. And I heard you say nudges. One of the things I believe is God nudges. God gives us nudges all day long, and He uses people, earth
Hmm.
angels.
Yeah.
And another thing I'll say too is they're handing out tickets in the comfort zone. Okay, so if you want to sit in that comfort zone, keep on waiting for that ticket, and it's going to add up.
Yeah.
Definitely going to add up. But that's something else that I realized too, Katrina, is that the enemy will come to us and will tell us no one wants to hear your story. You said you said it before. It's no different than anybody else.
Yeah.
But there's always one person that needs to hear it. I don't care how many times I've shared the experiences that I've gone through, because what I've gone through is different than anybody else. You might find another Rik Child somewhere in the universe, um, but it might have a different middle name. Don't have the same wife. Might not even be married. So there's differences. It's like everybody has a different fingerprint. There's a variation to all of us. So your story is different, your journey is different for a reason. That's how God created us.
That's it.
That's how He created us. And if everybody was the same, then we would be boring.
Yep.
We wouldn't be seeking Him if we were all the same and we were in a comfortable place. We go through the things we go through because there is a higher power.
That part.
There is a higher power. And if we're to get better, then our feathers have to be ruffled.
Mm-hmm.
We have to fall down. We have to hit a wall. And then once we understand that there is light on the other side of that wall and that it will get better, then we can move on and we
Yep.
can get out of those, like I said, excuses love the comfort zone. It's a place of safety.
Yeah.
It's a place of ease. But everything ain't meant to be easy. The things that you hate the most are the things that will promote you.
That's it.
That's what's going to make you stronger. That's going to cause you to be the best version of who God created you to be. And really, at the end of the day, that should always be your first and foremost mission, not goal, mission. And understanding who you are allows you to complete that mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just love being a part of this discussion because again, it allows me to see and understand that the direction that God has me going in, I'm going in the right place. He's nudged me to go this way, and I'm not looking back talking about why you pushing me.
Mm-hmm.
I know why He's pushing me because everything that I'm doing now, Katrina, and I've said this before, is that the gifts that God has put in me are gifts that people used to laugh about, used to joke about when I was young.
Yep.
But what I realized was that He hid me in plain sight. I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to mature me. He needed me to be at a certain stage in life. He needed the right person in my life. Tiff was that person that I understand God is first and foremost. And I understand after Him, she's the reason why I went from 311 pounds with a host of health issues that would have taken me out. And I wouldn't be sitting here now talking to you. So even though I wasn't connecting with some of the things that she was saying, that's because I didn't understand who I was,
Right.
who I am now. And as we come together and as I'm out of my comfort zone, we're better together. We're a better one because I'm out of my comfort zone, because I can lead the way I'm supposed to lead. I can cover the way I'm supposed to cover. But I can only do that by coming out of that and understanding who I am and doing the inner work and
That's
then
it.
adding the tools.
That's it. Well, I want to thank you as always for joining me here this evening. You always talk about men are beautiful too, and so thank you for being a part of the beautiful life.
Thank you.
But I want to ask everyone here, you know, the two questions. What's the assignment that you're sitting on, and what do you need to release in order to move forward? So really sit with that so that you can get out of your comfort zone and bring and leave the beauty mark that you are meant to leave. So thank y'all for joining us on this edition of A Beautiful Life. Until next time, have a great evening, everyone.